Dolemite Is My Name, available on Netflix now, the new film starring Eddie Murphy and Wesley Snipes. Now, those are two names that I haven't heard in quite some time, and I actually went to IMDb to check on the recent activity of both actors, going just a couple of years back. And apparently, each of them has appeared in a bunch of movies in the past couple of years, but none seemed like a big production. And this isn't one either. This isn't a film which you would call a massive film. Certainly not one of the big comedies that Murphy is known for, or action movies that Snipes used to play in. It tells the real life story of Rudy Ray Moore, played by Murphy, a self-made comedian, musician, filmmaker, and precursor of rap. So back in the 1970s, Rudy worked a dead-end job at a record store, trying to start a career as a musician unsuccessfully, and a stand-up comedian also unsuccessfully. That is until he got inspired by rhymed jokes slash folk tales told by various homeless black guys hanging around the record store. He recorded those people and then created entirely new sets, routines of his material based around this style of proto-rap, so to speak, and began showing it as a fictional character, Dolemite. And he achieved quite a success at that, but then got frustrated with his difficulty in promoting himself around the country, and also the lack of black culture being represented in the movie industry. So he sets out to make his own film about the Dolemite character. A movie made not with a professional crew and cast, but mostly his own friends who previously had nothing to do with the industry. A movie with strippers, sex, violence, kung fu, and an exorcism. Now, the first thing that needs to be said about the film is that it is really groovy, really funky. And that goes for music, clothes, the looks and behavior of the characters, and just the general feel. It's the funky 70s, alright. And then it's also a movie about a very specific part of a very specific culture in a very specific time period and location. That is the Blaxploitation movies made with and for the black people in the 1970s America. And then even within that narrow definition, Dolemite's style and humor were also quite specific, at least when it comes to his stand-up routine. Crude, vulgar, with a lot of profanity, seemingly directed mostly at uneducated part of the American society. And I'm just assuming that, by the way, because prior to watching the film, I was not familiar with this area of American culture. Hell, as a white guy from Poland, I'm probably as far away from it as possible. So I found the early stand-up routines of Dolemite, as shown in the film, as kind of baffling, as it appeared, as baffling as they appeared to the white promoters shown in the film. They were also confused. What the hell was that about? And I, like them, didn't know how to take that. However, when we get past that initial half hour or so and get around to actual movie making, I think the film becomes much more accessible to the general audience. I was able to enjoy it more and more as time went on, as humor shifted to more situation-based one, with Dolemite and his crew being absolutely clueless about making a movie. In this way, it made me think actually of The Disaster Artist and The Room. Like Tommy Wiseau, Dolemite is like a fish out of water when it comes to the industry, and like there, the end result is bad, but in a hilarious way. Only here, Dolemite embraces the hilarity, goes along with it. And in his journey from a nobody to a star, he is shown to be a rather down-to-earth guy, not really affected by his increasing fame in any bad way. On the other hand, there aren't really any villains in the film, any specific people who would stand in his way, oppose him. Yeah, he does occasionally have trouble, for example, with funding and so on. But time after time, through his persistence and hard work and also charisma, Dolemite gets to achieve his success. It's a story about a man setting out to do something meaningful in his life, and he just gets up and does it. No artificial conflict, no cliched obstacles, just the realistic ones that you would expect in a story like that. And that story feels real thanks to that, and it feels genuine. It's got its heart in the right place, which makes it easier to get into Dolemite's world and just hang around with him and his crew for a couple of hours. I know that there's been some talk about Eddie Murphy's performance, about potential Oscar nomination. He's certainly good, but I don't think he's that good. Probably the most impressive part is him being just his regular Rudy self in some scenes, and then turning on the switch and becoming Dolemite in others. But I think the kind of energetic performance that he gives isn't really that special in his case, because it's what I would have expected from Murphy. I actually like Wesley Snipes much more. He's just incredibly funny and entertaining in this film. He plays Derville Martin, a professional actor that Rudy hires as an actor and director of his film. And Snipes manages to mix being eccentric and odd and sort of out there in his actor persona and playing basically the straight man to Dolomite's lunacy on set when he's directing. It's a joy to see him on screen. He's very entertaining. So at the end of the day, even though I'm probably not the target audience for the film, I enjoyed it quite a lot. I think it's competently made, it's funny, it's entertaining, and it's enjoyable and pleasant to watch, which I think would have fit quite well with what Rudy himself aspired to be.